Welcome back to Bruins Diehards, your source for all things Boston Bruins. With me today, Brian Defelice from the Puck Ups, or as I like to call him, Brian Defelice, because I just think it sounds great. I don't know. It's just, I know it's not his name, but it's like people call me Lalonde. But it totally fine, totally fine. Today on the show, we are going to be talking Charlie McAvoy suspension because I haven't spoken about it. We're going to be talking about Charlie Coyle's new contract because I think it has a lot to do with Pavel Zacha. And then we're going to be talking about Dominic Tiano's articles on the Bruins development. And I got some stats that I'm going to be throwing Brian's way. Maybe give him some softballs and see. I put out a poll on Twitter the other day asking who had the, well, you know what? We'll save it for the show. As always, thank you for clicking, subscribing, putting comments in. Truly appreciate it. Gonna have Bruins content all summer. I promise. You're gonna see a lot of me. You're probably gonna see a lot of Brian as well. But Brian, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, Mr. Lalonde. How you doing? I'm doing good. Any day where I think I leapfrog Evan perhaps as the most frequented guest.
You do. You just today because you guys were tied, but he's on vacation again. He's a slacker. Whatever, Evan, the slacker.
No, I'm doing good though. Yeah, there's definitely some news to get into. The McAvoy suspension, obviously, people were kind of talking about in the last week or so when they announced the hearing, and there is the Lucas Reichel extension.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, well, he'll be in Providence. That'll be the quickest conversation ever.
Jamie Langenbrunner leaves the organization, so there's some content out there.
Yes.
There's some content.
Evan Gold almost left. And for everybody listening, yes, I will still be doing my 10-minute like deep dive videos, especially even this, the development thing. I'm going to do a new video on it. I want to just have a conversation on it first. But we'll do development last. Let's go off the rip. Let's do the McAvoy suspension. He gets 6 games. A lot of people thought he was going to get 8. And I think a lot of people, and this is just my personal opinion, thought he was going to get 8 just because he definitely called out Department of Player Safety. And I think he should have. The fact that they've just been taking liberties on him. And I want to make people understand the way everybody thinks about repeat offenders, but it all weighs in. So McAvoy has been suspended throughout his career. There is no like drop off. They do kind of weigh things. It is very interesting that some players have done pretty much the same thing or like slash people in the head and gotten pretty much a game or just a fine. And it's Charlie McAvoy. I personally believe 100% his 6 games he would have got maybe 4 to 5 if he didn't call out Department of Player Safety. But that's just, it's the politics of hockey. But Brian, I think he deserved it. I think Benson should have at least got fined. I don't know about suspension, but maybe a fine. It's the playoffs, so I don't think you get him a suspension. But Brian, what'd you think of the whole thing?
Well, I thought that McAvoy got what he deserved. I mean, you want to call it 4 games, 5 games, 6 games, whatever. It was a multi-game worthy suspension, and I didn't like. I understand his wires crossed. I understand that the slew foot obviously ignited that response. Go grab him and drop the gloves. So I didn't like the Paul Bunyan element to it, but as far as the suspension, it was a worthy suspension. He's a repeat offender, right? Suspended twice before, fine. Now it's his 3rd suspension. So it's tough to argue that. Did they add on an extra game to your point? Yeah, maybe. And then as far as Benson goes, because that's where a lot of most fans fall. Even the hardest of hard Bruins fans that are the most filmed black and gold glasses would say, listen, Charlie deserved the suspension, no doubt about it. But where's the discipline for Zach? And what I would say to that is Zach's 20 years old. He has no history because he's so young. And if you're going to suspend him in the playoff games are weighted far more than regular season games. So even if he did get suspended in the playoffs, 1 game would have been, call it 3 for the regular season. Could they have at least fined him or suspended him 1 game for it? Sure. But at the end of the day, whether Zach got suspended or not, Charlie's still out 6 games to start next year. And for the Boston Bruins, that's all that matters. You can go for now, right? Because they might appeal. You can go the whole eye for eye, right? Makes the whole world go blind. People could want Benson to get suspended too, but it doesn't change what happens with Charlie and the Bruins going forward.
100%. I agree with you. or at least somebody go to bat for him, because like with everything that's happening this year, I think um, it'd be tough for him to get in a fight. I'll be totally honest. His
Sure.
face is pretty banged up, but and I think it also is like a perfect storm. He has been pissed off at Department of Player Safety all year. People have been taking liberties, and he's the one just after another keeps happening to him. And I think that's what crossed his wires. And to be totally honest, I'm fine with it. I know people are pissed and they're like, "Oh, but I don't care." I truly don't care that he did it. We can't love Brad Marchand for everything he has done as the Boston Bruin and then be like, well, I'm pissed off at McAvoy for this one little thing. I have zero issue with what he did. I wish he didn't do it, but I get it. Like I've cross-checked someone in the back pretty hard when I've been pissed off about something. It happens. Benson wasn't hurt. I think it was more, if it was so much more malicious, Benson would have been hurt. He wasn't. He was a nothing burger for him, it is what it is. I think it was just more of, it happens. Did he deserve the suspension? 1,000%. Is he going to appeal it? 1,000%. Does he get a game maybe knocked off? Maybe. But he's going to be out for the first 6 games of the year. Preseason doesn't count. It is what it is, and we move on. I think a lot has been made of it, and I think personally the only reason a lot has been made is just because there's nothing else to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I also just think people just want fair is fair, right? And they're not getting that. They're looking at the situation and saying, how could you just ignore and just call Benson Slufa a dangerous trip, but not really, like they called it a dangerous trip in the video. So people understandably are like, okay, we get why Charlie's suspended, but where's the discipline for Benson? To that, I would say, hey, listen, NHL Department of Player Safety is inconsistent. The sky's also blue, Court. So what else is new? That's the way of the world.
Yeah, it is what it is. But next, and it's so weird. Like, it's the off season, so what else we're going to talk about? I personally just think it's whatever. Like, there's nothing much we can do about it. It's happened. I look at the Leaf fans are pissed off at everybody on the Toronto Maple Leafs for their captain doing nothing about anything all the time, or their teammates doing nothing when someone gets injured. And now we're getting mad because the guy got mad. Like, I don't know, like, whatever. Like, I have a hard time getting mad about stupid things like that. But hey, if you want to get mad about it, that's fine. For me, it's just I move on. No one got hurt. We move on. But in other news, Jamie Langenbrunner has left the Boston Bruins organization, as he's the assistant GM right now, co-assistant GM with Evan Gold. Now, I think there's more to it. I think with the rumor that Evan Gold was possibly going to be the assistant GM, the GM for the Vancouver Canucks, which never happened. I'll say this right now, is the Vancouver organization it's a poop show all the time. I don't get it. I don't understand how many times they can do the wrong thing, but Evan Gold doesn't go there, but the rumor was Langenbrunner was going. So maybe the rumor of Langenbrunner going to Vancouver was just the rumor, actually Langenbrunner leaving the Bruins organization to pursue other things. That's what they've said. I don't think it's no hard feelings. I just think he wants to see if there's other opportunities for him to get higher up, because I don't think he sees a path to being the GM of the Boston Bruins, because I think Evan Gold is ahead of him. So I think that's why he's leaving. But what was your, I guess, take on Langenbrunner leaving the Bruins organization?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything personal, right? It's no different than anybody else in any other profession. And when you're at a company, in this case, the Boston Bruins, built by Delaware North, you're trying to find internal growth and opportunity. And if you're Langenbrunner, you're looking at Gold, you're looking at Sweeney, and you're saying, okay, I got to surpass these two. And let's be honest, Court. Does the Jacobs family and Cam Neely, do they seem like they're in any rush to part ways with Don Sweeney? I think they like that relationship way too much. They're way too comfortable with each other, for better or worse. So, yeah, it's. I don't think Gold and Langenbrunner exploring opportunities is them saying that they're unhappy with what they're doing in Boston, or that they have any axe to grind against the Bruins. But hey, everybody wants to have the best job possible to support their family. So it's not surprising. I guess my question is, how prepared were the Bruins to replace these guys if they ended up leaving this offseason? So now Langenbrunner's gone. Evan Gold might stick around for a year, but because I saw somewhere that Gold and Langenbrunner and somebody else beneath Langenbrunner was possibly like a package deal to go somewhere else. Were Sweeney and Neely expecting to lose
So
Three
the
people.
other person was Jeremy Radikowski. He's part of their
There you go.
uh, analytics department.
Yeah.
And then there's other people in that analytics department that would still be there. I don't know. There's a lot of rumors. I'll say this about the Boston Bruins organization: they don't let stuff out. So if those rumors they were coming from the other side, just like these Matthews things that we found out now in Toronto. Everybody was like, well, "Why would the Leafs leak it?" It ends up being Matthews' team that is leaked that he's unhappy and he might leave Toronto. So I would think that Vancouver being such a clown show, that someone on the Vancouver side, maybe there's a lot of smoke to the fire, but Jeremy's still there. I checked out his Twitter profile. He's still a Boston Bruin. Evan's still a Boston Bruin. I think Evan is I think Langenbrunner saw the writing on the wall that Evan is ahead of him on any list. But for replacement sake, I don't know. Who do you think? Who do you think could replace them? Because there are some names that people have been throwing around that could replace at least. There's somebody in the player development side right now that could possibly move into a higher role with the Bruins organization.
Yeah, I do you have those names in front of you? Because
Yeah, their
I
names are Adam McQuaid and Zdeno Chara.
ooh, okay, so interesting. I
That's
mean,
just for the Langenbrunner role because that's the only role available right now.
right. Well, Adam has he's already had at least one, if not two, promotions within the Bruins organization since he joined them I don't know, as staff, I'll call him.
Yep.
And so yeah, Chara obviously is, he's been around Warrior all season. He's been helping the Bruins players on a personal basis off the ice. So he's definitely involved, and I could see him getting further involved. Another name I'm curious, and I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there. Don't you feel like at some point in time, Patrice Bergeron is going to find his way back into the game of hockey in a scouting role, maybe to start, or a player personnel role to start? I don't know. I just feel like Patrice is an ultimate competitor. His hockey mind, I would imagine we would all put up against anybody else's out there. And I think he's obviously taking this time to spend with his family, rightfully so, after a nearly 20-year career, and his kids are still young enough. But there's going to come a time where Patrice is probably going to get that itch to get back into the game. I wonder if there's a role that the Bruins give him to start out in, and I don't know. So maybe Chara and McQuaid and Bergeron, guys like that. We've already seen Chris Kelly's on the coaching staff for years. We know the Bruins like to promote from within and bring in alumni. So if I would expect if these certain personnel were to leave at some point, like a Gold, yeah, maybe it's some former Bruins as opposed to external hires. Now, is that the right way to go about things? Is that too much of a fraternity? That's up for the jury to decide, but that's kind of how I feel like the Bruins do things. Is it not?
Yeah, that's not just the Bruins. That's pretty much every NHL organization.
I mean,
They all
Langenbrunner was not a Bruin. He was obviously a lifelong Devil, so I guess that kind of spits in the face of my argument. But
it's still a hockey player. It's
yeah,
still, I guess, as people like to call it, nepotism. But like McQuaid is the head currently is the head of player development coordinator. He does like the rookie camps and such. We already know that like the Bergeron idea to be coming back into the organization. It's not at a we already saw him. He was doing the face-offs with Minton and a bunch of the guys. Like, hey, if you guys want, I'll go out and do face-offs with you. He's at Warrior a lot, kind of doing a coaching role. We've seen him on Nesson. He's a great X's and O's guy. A lot like like Torrey Krug was talking about on Spit and Chicklets the other day, how it goes against all the theories, but Bruce Cassidy was one of his favorite coaches. Like his career, all that kind of stuff, because he's a great X's and O guy, but he's like the last 3 years guy. But Bergeron seems more patient, seems more of a thinker, and I think maybe like this is me spitballing, just throwing things, and just not crystal ball. These are not possibly happen. You could move McQuaid into Langenbrunner's role because McQuaid has done enough. Whether we'll get into player development, whether he's done it properly or not, but we'll get into that later on in the episode. And then you could move Chara into keeping Chara in his role, because I truly believe Chara is being groomed to either be the GM or maybe he'll be the next Cam Neely and Evan Gold's the GM. But I think Chara is being groomed. Chara's an extremely smart man, extremely smart. I think he will have one of the bigger roles, like maybe the Cam Neely role eventually in the future. But maybe Bergeron becomes the new Adam McQuaid. But these are all maybes because Bergeron is such a good teacher and the way he talks. But he made it clear that he wants to be spending time with his family. So, and he's got his media company that's doing pretty well. It's doing a lot of stuff like with the NHL and stuff like that. Like going on
True.
him. They just even put out a post with like Morgan Geeky just recently. Like he's doing a lot. So
True.
we'll see what he wants to do. He's pretty good on Nesson as well. So maybe Bergeron's like, I don't want all that responsibility. Maybe he doesn't want to ever be fired because that's what it is. If you're going to be a coach or anybody in the front office, you have as soon as you get hired, you have a ticker. Yeah, you have a lifespan. It's over. So we'll see. I don't disagree with you. Maybe there's other guys that we're not even thinking of that are former players that could come back into the organization. But I do think Chara is being groomed eventually to have an extremely big role with this organization. Not just his height, but his stat is. But we'll see. I think McQuaid is the easy choice if they even need to fill it. Like maybe they don't need to have a co-assistant GM. Maybe they give Evan more responsibility. Like Evan does a lot for this team. He's the cap cruncher. When you watch Behind the B, he's the guy at the trade deadline. He's doing all the math. He's the math guy, and I don't think Adam McQuaid's the math guy.
I've picked up on that too in those clips. PJ Axelson's another former Bruin that they have on their staff for quite some time as a European scout, I believe. But yeah, it's interesting. When you talk about potentially grooming Char to be the next face potentially of upper management in the future, it is interesting because I mean Cam's not. How old is Cam? Is he even 60 yet? I don't think so. Maybe. He's still. I still feel like Cam's not ready to identify his replacement, his successor, because he's still young enough.
Yeah, but he might not be ready, but everybody else might not be ready if everything continues. So he's born in 83. He's not much younger. No, he's drafted in 83. Oh my God, he's born in 65. He's born in 1965.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know. I will plead the fifth and not talk about Cam Neely because my feelings are always clear on how I feel about Mr. Cam Neely and his views on things. Sometimes I may not agree with them all the time, but you know what? He's the one in the job, not me. It is what it is. We move on. But hey, everybody's got an expiry date.
Yeah.
It's not going to be him going, I'm going to step down. It's going to be ownership saying, I'm sorry, you're fired.
With this conversation we're having, Core, I wanted to ask you, the Providence Bruins obviously got bounced in the, earlier than anticipated, and they massive upset, and just another year where the Providence Bruins don't go on a deep run. It's caused people to once again just kind of question what's going on here with the Bruins organization and their development process, because I believe the Boston Bruins, I think they're a top 10 roster in terms of youth per age in the NHL. And none of their younger players or any of their players are like or I would call them products of the Providence Bruins system, right? I mean, Jonathan Aspero was a journeyman who played for them for a month. Fraser Minton played a cup of coffee with them after the trade deadline last year.
He still counts. But yes.
Yeah, but I would view him as a product of Toronto's system, like with the Marlies more so than the Providence Bruins.
Sure. Oh, yes, but I look at I did a math and I had a number, and so they played a certain amount of games, and I'm like, all right, they count. But continue.
Fair enough.
Before that, Lucas Reichel next year will be in Providence. He signed a new contract, $950,000. It's a 1-year deal. People, it's not that big of a deal. He's just a body for Providence because hopefully they bring guys up. But continue, because I love the development thing. I have a lot. We'll end with the Zacha thing. Keep going.
Yeah, it's just like you look at the Bruins roster, the NHL roster, and they're like I said, they're one of the younger rosters in the NHL on average age, which may surprise some people. But yet you look at the roster, and none of those players are really they're not really Providence Bruins products, like at least long-term products. Even a James Higgins goes right to the Bruins pretty much. Like, so you look at the Frederick Brunets and the Matt Potras and the Fabian Lysels and the Danslaw Schmelis, who, by the way, was hurt. Georgi Merkulov, like these guys that just go to Providence, and for one reason or the other, they just don't they don't pan out. Maybe it's on the player, maybe it's on the organization for not optimizing their talents. I don't know. But it's interesting to have a young NHL roster, and then none of that youth is really coming from your AHL system. And I don't know. It's interesting, and we're talking about player development personnel and being on the move, and I don't know. Like, could this Bruins team use a shakeup anyway?
So I have theories. Dominic Tiano also did 2 amazing articles that I will put in the captions down below in the comments section. One was titled "Do the Bruins Need to Revamp Their System?" and then another one was "Moving On Up." Both very good articles. I've been talking to Dom all week about this kind of stuff. I have my theories. I don't want to give away Dom's. I want you to check it out. So I'm gonna go through. Ryan Mougenel has been the coach of the Providence Bruins from 2021 to the present. Jay Leach was the coach from 2017 to 2021. Kevin Dean was the replacement for Bruce Cassidy in 2016 to 2017. But before that was Bruce Cassidy, 2011 to 2016. And we could keep going back, but I want to stop at Bruce, and there's reasons. So I'm going to say Cassidy, Dean, Leach, Mougenel. Who do you think? Because I think there's a systemic issue with the Providence Bruins, because I think the way they've, over the last couple of years, they decided, because you even talked about it, you're like, oh, they didn't go on a long run. I couldn't give a rat's patooey if they go on a run or not. The AHL is supposed to be a development league. It's not supposed to be let's play our vets like Brown all the time to try and win hockey games. Like, that is not what it's for. And I think the Bruins have lost sight of it. The teams that are bringing up guys and developing all them, they're not winning Calder. Like, no one cares.
Right.
Like, I know
Right.
they do, but we shouldn't. Like, we should want these kids to be developed, and I think they've lost track of that, and they stopped developing, and they're playing guys like Riley Tufte and Patrick Brown, and putting Fabian Lysell and Matthew Poitras in different situations. Like, it is crazy to me, and I wish we could get the stats to show, like, Patrick Brown plays way too much damn hockey for any particular reason. It makes absolutely no sense. If you want to develop, play these kids. Like, I was laughing. Don Sweeney's like, I'd much rather him been in the Providence playoffs, James Higgins. What? So he can be third line minutes and not and barely play because Mougenel's just going to play all the vets all the time? Like, what's the point of it? And there's been a systemic issue. So I've named the coaches. Out of the 4 I named, which one of them, and this is player had to have played at least over 20 games in Providence, and has now had a career and played over 150 games in the NHL. Not necessarily for the Bruins, but have left the Providence system to go play in the NHL. Which coach had the most graduates?
Between Mougenel, Leach,
and Cassidy. I guess we'll just throw Dean out of there because it's really
yeah.
Cassidy.
I'm gonna.
Dean. It's a landslide too, by the way.
I feel like it's Bruce.
Yeah, it's by like a redonkulous. Like, and
Yeah.
his graduates would be like David Pastrnak and Torrey Krug.
Yeah.
And I give, and then Jake DeBrusk and Mark and Matt Grzelcyk. Like, it's a stupid list.
Yeah.
Because he played them. So like Torrey Krug, and a lot of this, even like Dom wrote those great articles. Again, they're in the comments down below. And then Torrey Krug went on the Spitting Chicklets, and he talked about how, like, Bruce in Providence, he got chirped on the bench by a player on the team, and Bruce is like, yeah, you do stink. And he was like, I needed that. He was saying that the players are soft nowadays. I 1000% agree. They're all like getting upset that their coach is getting mad at them. But when they need it, because coaches can't baby these guys anymore. They can't just be told all the time that they're the best players in the world. They've got to go out there and play the game the right way. But Bruce, it's over 20 players under Bruce. They went from the Bruins system to then played in the NHL. Okay. Jay Leach, and I'm being generous here, 8. Mougenel, 5. So I'm never going to call for someone to be fired. There's a systemic problem with the Boston Bruins development system in Providence, and they need to fix it. They need to figure it out. The fact that DiPietro is still there, like, Korpisalo needs to move. You cannot continue to have guys like Dan Vladar that end up shining in other organizations. Bussy, who shined for a little bit, but Carolina, he came back down to earth. He came to be what a lot of people thought he was. But Vladar always looked great in Providence. You can't continue to do this and not give these guys a chance. Don't tell me Fabian Lysell, who did everything he could down in Providence this year, but then still got the third line minutes sometimes. Like, what are we doing here? You have to play them. Everybody doesn't have to be a two-way forward. Stop this garbage. That's not what's happening. That's not how teams are winning right now. They need to figure it out. No, it's not the 1970s anymore. And that's when I get frustrated with someone like Cam. It's the top down that they've got to figure it out. They've got to change. And maybe you get a new coach at Providence. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just tell him, hey, dude, maybe Patrick Brown doesn't need to play that many minutes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I really couldn't. And there's this adage that the NHL is not a developmental league. And I think for the most part, you and I agree with that. However, that's a very black and white statement, and it's not entirely true because at some point, everybody makes their NHL debut. And upon your NHL debut, there is an adjustment period to the highest level. You can't you can be as ready as you can be, right? But once you get there, you still have to adjust on the fly. There's no such thing as an NHL finished product, I'll call it, upon their NHL debut. And so, yeah, I just view the Providence Bruins. It just seems like they're so focused on just having a respectable professional program in terms of let's bring in terms of let's bring in the Patrick Browns who work their balls off in practice and they're a good pro, right? But but the AHL, to your point, the AHL is a developmental league. It's not you're gonna always have your veterans who didn't make it in the show, and they're gonna ride the bus in their 30s and play out the dying days of their career. But the AHL, first and foremost, is not for those players. It's for the players that you're talking about. It's for the developmental stage of younger players. So I do agree with you. I think the Bruins are too stubborn as an organization with younger players, and I think it's that simple. I really do.
Yeah, because we're seeing players develop in other teams, and we're seeing it happen. Like Don wrote in his article, Matthew Poitras was one of the clear examples of someone who was given, like, in fairness, some of the reasonably always falls on the player, assuming they're being put in a situation that gives them a real chance to succeed. And he's saying Matthew Poitras is a clear example of that. He was sent to Providence with specific areas of his game to refine, and while his offensive dipped as early, he focused on those details. It returned in the second half, and he rounded it into a more complete player. But then again, he came up to Boston, he played amazing, and they sent him back down. And then he talks about Luke Johansson. And clearly, despite being a 6th-round pick, there was plenty of us who saw something in Luke Johansson, and clearly the Bruins did too, signed to an early entry-level deal in 2024. The fact that his contract slid over 2 years is a bonus for the Bruins, but early in commitment spoke louder. They believed there was real upside worth getting ahead of. But then they never played him. They put him in Maine. They barely played him there. They barely played him in Providence. They're not developing these guys. It doesn't make any sense. Like, we keep hearing about Fabian Lysell over and over and over again. And then we see what's happening in Providence, and he's getting like third line minutes. What are we doing? Or when you call them up, my favorite was not this year, the year before. Every time they called up Merkulov, they put him in the bottom 6. I'm like, well, what's the point of this? And then when we had Arvidsson hurt in the playoffs, we still sat Hagens on the bench because it's a systemic problem in this Bruins organization. They've got to, I barely say, they got to get their heads out of their asses because it's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because part of the reason why some of these players also aren't in the big club right now is because they did trade for Fraser Minton and Amarat Hustadinov, who, to their credit, they are young players. They're 21 and 23, and the Bruins had them as regular. So there are some examples of the Bruins electing to play youth. And I would also say Hustadinov and Minton are very mature players, and that's why they're there, along with their skill set. So the Bruins do have youth in their roster, but to the conversation we're having, it's not coming from internally, right? And I just feel like you look at the Bruins the last 3 seasons now, Court. They've been a very average to below average team, and they've been without Bergeron and Krejci and Marchand and others over the years. Like the record breaking year in 22-23, they were a wagon. There was no room for anybody. Like we all understood that, really. But the Centennial season, Last year when they finished 5th worst and sold at the deadline. This past year where they had 100 points, but they're clearly a team in in a retool rebuild. The last 3 years, it is remarkable outside of Minton and Husnudinov. And okay, fine, Lori. They've given Lori a fair shake, but they've had rosters in the last 3 seasons in particular that have been they've left a lot to be desired in terms of pure high-end NHL talent. Why haven't there been more trials for some of these younger players? To your point, the Merkulovs, the Lysels. What's the worst that happens? You call them up for 5-10 games and they don't do well? I would rather them call up a player in this point of the Bruins organizational trajectory and have him fail and figure that out, rather than him just sit down in Providence and just rot away as a Bruins asset and an asset around the league. That who's going to want Fabian Lysell in a trade right now? So
Yeah, I agree, and it's kind of like with that whole Reichel being signed. It was like, well, we have to go get assets from other teams because the Bruins are
right.
not. For me, it's a frustration thing. It's maybe it's a philosophy. Maybe they've just got to rework it, and maybe I could be totally wrong. I'm sure that if they were, and I don't think they are, but if they were watching this, they'd be like, "This guy's talking whatever." This is just my opinion. I just look at it and say, "What's going on here?" Because all their teams, you're right, they're developing guys. So the Bruins are like, "Well, we got to go to that organization because they developed that guy, and we'll bring him into ours, and then he's good to go." But the Bruins, no one's saying, "I got to get that young kid from the Bruins because he's going to work in mine." You're going to have an issue moving forward where these college free agents, whenever they're like, oh, they're coming to Boston. I'm like, no, they're not, because there's no clear path. There's no clear path to play in the organization. Just like the Tampa Bay Lightning, like they not Tampa Bay. It's Tampa has an issue with it lately where they're not bringing the kids in. Like these teams are having issues bringing these kids in, and it's because they maybe still have that philosophy that you talked about, where we're a vet, like that's the way this team's built, but they're not that team anymore. That's not their identity.
No. And Matt Poitras might be one of those players, one of those few players that other teams look at and say, hey, he could be our Reichel. Probably maybe better, honestly. Like we'll see.
Oh, no, he's a better player.
Yeah, so like
he's a better player than Reichel.
If Matt Poitras were to be traded and go to another organization, where the reason he's not playing in Boston right now is because you have an anchor of a contract in Elias Lindholm. We all love Fraser Minton. Zacha, we could talk about it. Should he be a trade asset or part of the future? Either way, he's a legit top middle 6 forward, right? So then you have Hagens. Like there's no room for Poitras because of let's be honest, Elias Lindholm. Because Poitras can't really play wing,
but he can play 4th line center. So I would actually argue that Corrales is in the way. But
I agree.
That's the Bruins. Too. What do? They go out and they buy like. My hope this offseason is they don't go out and sign 5 or 6 bottom 6 forwards again. Like, just please stop. Like, no offense to Michael Eyssimont. No offense. Like, sorry. They didn't need these guys. They didn't add anything. They didn't bring any. They didn't need them.
Well, they had to re-sign Steve's midseason because you have to. Like, I know these contracts individually, they're not big contracts. Corrali, Eyssimont, Steve. Like, you and I get that. But to the point you're making, like, and I mentioned Elias Lindholm, you're right. Like, they brought in Sean Corrali because they wanted somebody who's played here before to help resurrect the locker room. And that was great this year. Clearly Sean's lost a step, but in order to bring him in, you had to sign him for 2 years. And to your point, okay, is he log jamming Matt Poitras right now? I love Sean Corrali. I have a ton of respect for him as a player and a person. Seems like a great guy and a great person to have in the room. But would you rather him between Kaslik and Jeannot next year or Poitras? Like, I'd rather Poitras. But yeah, the Bruins, they hamstring themselves to these contracts, and it's like they haven't needed to because their NHL roster has been very blah the last 3 years. Like, whatever. I don't know, Court. They have to stop being so stubborn, and they have to. You can't let every kid who comes to Providence jump into. Like you and I get that. We're not saying that, but you can't just waste these players away. Figure out what you have or don't have in them, and go from there. If you don't think you have anything in the player, then move them for something. Don't just keep him in Providence because, oh, we can have a good AHL team. Who gives a fuck? Like, sorry, apologize for my French there's Court. But it's
That's
like,
the first swear in podcast history on this show.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Je suis désolé. Anyway, yeah, they got a developmental issue.
Yeah, it's frustrating to me because kids are not going to want to come here. If they don't see a clear path, why would you want to come here? Like people thought it was crazy when Isaac Howard didn't want to go to Tampa Bay, and he was like, "Well, there's no where I'm going in. Like, there's no room for me."
Right.
So, like, that's going to start happening in Boston. If like you got Merkulov, you got all these kids that have just been wasted away down in Providence because like Matthew Patra, like in Dom's article says, oh, like he did what he had to do, but he was given nothing, no reward for it. He got called up, played great. He was one of the shining players that played great in that game against Tampa with the highlighter jerseys. Like, and what happened to him? Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't for me, it just doesn't make sense. And I get it. You want grind, you want this, you want the lunch pail stuff, but teams are winning on skill and speed. The Bruins aren't developing anything in their own organization. They have to go to other organizations to get youth to bring into the lineup. And we're not saying that they're not a young lineup. We're not saying they don't have good young pieces. I'm saying more if they've got to figure out because there's obviously a development issue down in Providence because they're not bringing in guys. There's no one sneaking out of nowhere coming out of Providence because even Aspero, he didn't really play in Providence. He had nothing to do with Providence. It was that Calgary team or whatever it was where he was playing. Where was he playing before? I'll pull it up.
Yeah.
But it's just like
it was the Flames. It was the Flames minor league team.
So like it's like he didn't do it. The Bruins didn't do it. He ends up being a good but they're scouting. That shows you the Bruins scouting staff is finding good players.
Bang.
So maybe if they're good enough to find good players to do that, they're good enough to draft players, and they've got to figure out how to develop those drafted players because it's getting out of hand at this point.
Well, that's the flip side of it too, and you're exactly right. Like, let's give them credit for identifying him, and let's give them credit for identifying Minton and Hustadinov. Like, that's great. That's part of the conversation too. I think you and we're kind of specifically talking about the Providence product on the ice and the lack thereof. But yes, organizationally, I do feel like over the last 12 to 15 months, I do feel like the Bruins have taken steps forward with identifying personnel and trying to get younger and faster. Like I think they're recognizing that they have to do it. So I guess we'll this is a big offseason for them. Like I'm very curious to see how it plays out for the Bruins because I think to your point about Asimon and Korpisalo and like I think they have to try to rid of some contracts with current term. And I think that has to be a focus. So maybe they try to move some guys at the draft for some later picks. I don't know, but I expect some movement with some of those movable contracts this offseason.
Yeah, I agree with you on Korpisalo. Like you can't let DiPietro. You have to give him. You got to sink or swim. Figure it out. Let him try. I think he's had issues as an NHL goalie, and unfortunately for a goalie, is at 6 foot, it's tough for him, especially the style he plays. He's a very athletic goalie, and that can leave a lot of space above him when he goes down. But he has played phenomenal the last couple of years in Providence and in the AHL. He deserves a chance. He deserves not just a one game in the preseason. He deserves a chance. He should be given the most starts in the preseason than any other goalie this offseason. This preseason coming up, he should be given the most starts. See if he can do it. Give him the most starts. And because at this point, you're just going to look like an idiot again if he ends up being something. And I'm not saying that ever going to say DiPietro can be a starting goalie in the league, but I think he can be a very good backup.
That's all you need. I mean, their only loyalty to Korpisalo was the fact that they had to take him in order to trade Allmark. Like the Bruins didn't identify Korpisalo as, oh, we need him as a backup. Like he was collateral for wanting to trade Allmark, so the Bruins had to take him. It's not like they're looking at Korpisalo as, oh, we need to have him going forward. He's expendable. DiPietro, back-to-back years AHL goalie of the year. Sounds like somebody who could possibly be a backup on short money. And if he sucks, are the Bruins winning the cup next year anyway? Like what's their organizational goal right now anyway? It's like figure out what you have in players. And if you could do so on cheaper contracts, then that's great. All the better.
And the more players that you can graduate out of Providence, the more you show the players there's a path. It's like anybody who has a normal job and they're working and they're like, what's my path? Is there anywhere I can even get promoted? Like, what's the point of this? So if you're down in Providence, what's your motivation? Because there's nobody in that dressing room. You're looking around, you're like, yeah, we've all been here all year.
Right.
You know what I mean? Oh, you went up. Oh, what'd you do? Oh, bottom six roll. Cool. Cool.
Right.
You played 8 minutes. Awesome. And then
Yeah.
Mach Botcher's down. He's like, hey, I scored a goal. And it was like a huge goal for us. And it was like, I played really well. I was one of the best players on the ice, but they sent me back down.
That is crazy that he only played 2 games with the Bruins this past year. I wouldn't have.
And played well.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that at all before the year. I would have said he at least. I mean, he was in the running. He was a favorite to make the team out of camp, right? But you still thought that okay, injuries or this or that, he'd still get maybe half a season, maybe, right? And they did have injuries. I mean, Middlestat was hurt at times. Um, Zacha briefly. Lindholm missed time, and they only called up Poitras when they were down multiple bodies for those 2 games. So
It was mind-numbingly crazy to me. It
yeah,
doesn't make sense. Like, and you know what's going to happen this offseason. They're going to go into the AHL pipeline and be like, well, who was the leading scorer that we can get as a UFA? Like, we'll go get that guy or we'll trade for that guy. Like, Blumel didn't work out. He didn't. But they gave him a chance. They played him a ton in the preseason. He just didn't look good.
yeah,
But they didn't play Lysell. They didn't really play Pot. They didn't.
no.
They're not. So if you're done with Lysell, just move him then. But if he works out in another team, you're going to look like an idiot. I'm not saying he's good to go and he should be in the line. I'm just saying they haven't given him a chance, and I don't think they've even given him a chance in Providence.
You know, it's funny. I saw Lysell during training camp at Warrior. I was grabbing a coffee. I don't know if you've ever been to Warrior Court. I know it's a ways away from Ontario,
I have.
okay. So there's a coffee shop down below, and I was just grabbing a coffee, and I saw him. He was like it was like he and I were the only people in the coffee shop, and he just looked like he was just defeated. His body language was just down in the dumps. It just didn't. I don't know if I was reading too much into it, but you know how when you walk by somebody in life and you're like, oh, that person's had a rough day. That's what it looked like to me, and I don't know. It's just food for thought. I wouldn't be surprised if that kid's morale and confidence is just totally shook. Because to your point, he's trying to make a job out of training camp. You can feel how you want about Lysell all you want. There's no value to training camp games other than giving guys an opportunity to showcase themselves. And then maybe if you want, you want to get the regulars some opportunities too, but not a ton. Lysell, I think, only played 2 games. And one preseason game.
Oh, sorry, in the preseason 2, yes. In the Calder Cup playoffs, he played 1 game this year.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Merkulov and Lysell, they didn't even get their first preseason game until midway through the preseason when it was kind of like a nothing game. You're like, okay, you're not even giving them preseason games to showcase themselves. So clearly the Bruins were down on those 2.
Well, it's also crazy. I'm looking at his stats right now, and I'm not going to pretend to be like, hey, I watched a ton of Lysell games this year. 17 goals, 25 assists, 42 points. What stands out to me is 5 game-winning goals, and his shooting percentage is 19.3. That means he was barely getting opportunities, but when he did, he put the puck in the net.
Wow.
He only got 88 shots on goal. He wasn't playing a lot of minutes. They were playing him in the bottom 6. It's crazy to me. If he's got this offensive potential. But nope. Mougenel is like, you know who I'm going to play? Riley Tufte and Brown. That's who's going to go out on the ice. You go over the boards. You're going to get all the minutes because you're never playing in the NHL. But you know what? You need to go out there. That doesn't do anything. Stop it. You're not developing anybody. No, everybody knows neither one of those players are playing in the NHL. So why are they going out there? I always love you can tell the people that cover the Providence Bruins. As soon as like a player goes down, I'll see like the normal tweet of call Patrick Brown up. I'm like, for what?
Yeah.
For what? The guy is not fast enough to play in the NHL.
Court, he's 30 years old or 31 or 2, and he's in the AHL for a reason. I mean, he's
played well there. I'm not saying he's not a bad.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he's not an NHL player.
No, well, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like where was he before Boston? He was with Ottawa for a cup of coffee as like a grinder, 4th line grinder. Like he's not. I'm not trying to.
Well, he's been in Henderson, so that was Las Vegas, and then he was Chicago Wolves, which were they? They could have been, and then Charlotte Checkers. So he was with Carolina and Vegas.
Okay, yeah. So Yeah, I'm with you. I
And
don't.
it wasn't until he came to Providence when he got tons of ice time because Mougenel liked him, did he actually do anything. Otherwise, he was doing bottom six roles even in the AHL.
Because
But he
he works hard. Coaches love a guy who works hard, and
it's great.
that's great. But Mougenel's role is to develop young
Correct.
players. It's not to win. I mean, you could say it's to win Calder Cups, but like to your point, it's your primary role as an AHL coach. It's not to win Calder Cups. It's to develop players for your organization. That's the goal.
That's how you're gonna get promoted. Look, I
Yeah.
because I named all the guys. So when I named all those guys, and my final point to this is which one of them is a NHL coach? Which one is the most sought after NHL coach right now? Which one of them won a Stanley Cup? There's only one. The guy that developed the most kids.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yep.
guy that supposedly never played kids in the NHL when considering half his team was always one of the youngest, but it was full of veterans. But
What a false narrative.
it's a very false narrative. Like Torrey Krug, it's funny. If Torrey Krug would have went on Spinning Chicklets and said that Bruce was like the worst coach ever, we would have saw clip after clip. But because he waxed poetic about him, we saw one clip on Instagram and no one talked about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you know what? That's the way the world works because negativity goes. So like they'll probably love every minute because we're talking about how the Providence Bruins have a development problem, and I think they do because there's a reason that Leach and Mougenel aren't head coaches in the NHL is because they don't develop kids. You're not going to develop. You're not going to get promoted. You're not going to be a head coach in the National Hockey League because I hope that's your goal, unless you can show that you can develop youth, and they can't.
Mm-hmm.
They can't. Look at. I think David Pasternak's the perfect example. Like he always talks about how much he owes Bruce and that coaching staff and all of them, everybody down there, and how much the Providence Bruins like going to Providence was such a thing. But you don't hear that anymore because these
No.
guys aren't coming from Providence up anymore. It's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, Pasternak, Grizzlick, Carlo, DeBrusque,
Torrey Krug,
Krug. There's tons of guys,
Grizzlick. It's a
Yeah,
big list. It's a stupidly big list.
yeah, yeah. You have. I definitely feel like the Bruins,
Volachari. We could just keep going. There's just a long list of guys that played in Providence and came up.
and it's interesting, Cork, because this is a time where the Bruins were. I mean, the 14, 15, 15, 16 seasons, they were definitely transitioning from the Cup era to,
Yep.
the McAvoy. But I feel like the Bruins organization was way more prominent at the NHL level then than it is now, and their AHL development was better then, oddly enough, than it has been in recent. Like, who have they brought up in the last? They haven't.
They haven't. So like under Mougenel, it's been 5.
Who?
I get the hold on. I'd have to go over the list because like I don't count Matthew Poitras, so I'd have to go back. So hold on, let me go to. I have to go through it. I didn't write down all the names. I put little
Okay.
X's beside them, but they're not big names, but they count, right? So it's like okay, like you give it because they played. Because I said like Jeffrey Vial, he plays now in Anaheim on a regular basis, but he played under Lujanel, but he had to leave. But
How
that's
old
what
is
it
he?
is. It's no
How
guys
old
that are
is he
playing for
though?
the Bruins. It's no guys that are playing for the Bruins.
But these
Let me
players
make
weren't.
this clear.
They weren't necessarily drafted by the Bruins either, right? Because like
Vial
Viel,
was not drafted by the Bruins. No.
and also isn't Viel like pushing like 30? Isn't he like 28 years old?
I can tell you in a second. He is.
Okay.
But like you do have some guys that have come out of Mougenel. I don't want to say there is nobody, but there's a systemic issue that has to be fixed. They've got to figure it out. There has to be a way that because if you're going to succeed in this league, players like we'll talk about in a second, Pavel Zacha, he's in to get a raise thanks to Charlie Coyle. You want to be able to move those guys out, make the decision to move on for them if you're not a cup ready team, and have a guy that can jump into your lineup right away and automatically fit into that role. And the Bruins aren't doing that. They're not having guys that'll come out of nowhere and be like, oh, that guy can play. No, that's not how this works. That's not what they're doing. It's almost like they play them in Providence till they can't go anymore, like Justin Brazeau and Beecher, and then they just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Beecher played in the NHL, but he came out of Providence. He played under Mougenel, but he did
Fair.
play in the NHL. Justin Brazeau played under Mougenel as well. He's in the NHL, but he's also very streaky. But those are, like I said, they're not huge names that I'm not giving you like, oh my God, Mason Lowry is another one, but like
Fair.
I'm not giving you Parker Witherspoon. There's your guys. It's not a big list, but it's still a list. They're not huge names. Brandon Bussey is another one. So
Yeah,
there's
but
your guys, right? But they all
yeah.
what they have to do? They had to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
There's just Mason Lowry. That's it.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
he's probably going to go somewhere else, right?
yeah, probably. Yeah, I would probably, and maybe Patra, but like even the list, it's like even some of the guys that are on that list, like VL was fighting Chara for when he was on the San Jose Sharks when Chara was
Well,
on the Islanders and
100%.
cap. So he had already played an NHL game before Mougenel. Waterspoon was with the Islanders system for a while. Like I'm not trying to take credit away
No,
from
yeah, you're right,
Mougenel,
because
but
he
it's
was
like
on the Bridgeport Islanders.
yeah, it's not like they were like drafted by the Bruins and
Yeah,
Moose brought them up.
all right, so we could even make the list even smaller, dude.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's really like, Lorai, sure, Beecher and his 5 NHL points, sure. Lorai's a legit one who's like, he's played a couple seasons on the NHL, but yeah, it's a problem. It's definitely a problem.
And it's going to become a bigger problem if you don't nip it in the butt.
Mhm.
Like, figure it out, because this problem is good. And Jakub Lauko, but he's no longer in the NHL, but he still played some
Okay.
NHL games. But
Yep,
again,
fair enough.
no longer in the NHL. I think, yeah, it was a very small list. Like under Mougenel, there isn't like, oh my God, he was like I said, you look at Bruce's and it's crazy. One of the best goal scorers maybe to ever play for the Boston Bruins. It's not named Bobby Orr
Yeah.
and David Pastrnak. Like
Mm.
it's a good list.
I wonder what Marco's list looks like. I'm not putting you on the spot to look it up now, but I'm just curious for another day. I wonder what Marco's list is for San Antonio. I think it was San Antonio, right? The Kings AHL team.
San
Or
Antonio,
Ontario Reign, actually.
Ontario Reign. I can tell you. All right. So when tell me the years he was in Ontario.
Oh boy. I want to say it was 3 seasons, so maybe
2023, 2022, 23 is his first year. Hold on, I can tell you in a second.
Yes, I think so, yes.
Yes. So he was the head coach. So let's look at this roster here. Because that's a fair Brant Clark. He's a pretty good player.
Yep.
And he definitely played under Stern for a while.
Yep.
Nate Thompson's a journeyman. That doesn't count. Quentin Byfield. There's another Alex Turcotte.
Legit.
Alex
Yeah.
Lafreniere.
Yep.
Lafreniere. It's not Lafreniere. Lafreniere.
Yep.
Akil Thomas. These guys are all playing in the NHL. All right, hold on. Let's go to 23-24. I'm using the AHL.com, by the way, people, if you want to know what I'm looking at here, that gives you all the names. Kaliev, meh. He's not doing so well.
Yeah.
Still, I've named already some big names already, but it's
yeah.
not that big of a list. But they're just some big names.
Yeah.
But then again, LA has drafted, right? They haven't been trading away their picks all the time. Sorry, my apologies. All right, let's see his last year, 24-25. Because it's still the same names.
Yeah. He's only there 3 years, so it's not gonna be a
Jack Stugnica. That's funny to say.
That's another one that didn't pan out, right?
Yeah, I didn't think he was gonna pan out.
Yeah, fair enough.
That was just a bad drafting. But yeah, there's the names. It's not that big.
Okay.
It's not that big of a name list. Oh, Phoenix Copley. He's a pretty damn good goalie. He'll eventually be doing something, but it doesn't matter. Sturm's now the head coach, so we move on. But they need to do something in Providence. Maybe, I don't know, because ever since Cassidy left, it just hasn't been good. Like it just gets worse and worse. It's hilarious if you look at the names: the Dean, Leach, and Mougenel. Like nothing has happened there, and that's a really long time, people. Really long time. Bruce Cassidy left as the Providence Bruins coach in 2016.
Yeah.
That is 10 years, people, that it has been poo-poo doo-doo coming out of the Providence Bruins.
They need a hard look in the mirror as an organization.
Seriously. Think about it. They went from having Pierre Laviolette to Bruce Cassidy, and now they've had Kevin Dean, Jay Leach, and Mougenel. And it says a lot that no one is hiring these guys as head coaches. They went from being like the system where let's go hire all these guys to we're not hiring them. So that's there's a lot of issues when you look at it and you'd be like, all right, yeah, there's no one getting hired. No one's saying, oh my God, there's a coaching position. We want to hire Ryan Mougenel. No one's saying that.
No one will either. And Sweeney in particular, like I feel like he gets so smug too in like press conferences when he's asked about this, and he's condescending and gaslights and makes people who ask the question and fans who are listening feel like we're crazy for questioning the development process. But
I think, like I said, Dom's articles are going to be in there. They are phenomenal. He does a breakdown. I'm going to do a more full, like everything about this kind of stuff video and put the numbers in front of you and just show you some stuff. But last thing I want to talk on real quick is Charlie Coyle just signed a new deal with the Columbus Blue Jackets, and it's a $6 million a year deal till he's 40 years old. So he just signed a no move clause as well. So he cannot be traded, sent to waivers. It kicks in the 26-27 season. He was making $5.2 million last year. So he got a little bit of a raise. I'm going to be honest. He played great, but he's 36 years old. Supposedly they're going to pay him $6 million till he's 40. That's a thing. So the reason why I wanted to talk about that is because the Boston Bruins are going to have the same situation hit them, albeit be younger, in Pavel Zacha. Now, the good news is the cap is going up to $103 million next year. The NHL, Elliot Friedman put it out there. They actually think it could go up higher now. They now say they actually have more revenue and more money to work with. So the cap could go up craziness to be like $130 million in the next couple of years. So even Elias Lindholm's contract of $7 million is like just above league average. If you do the math, like league average is going to turn into like $5 million right now. Cap hit for Pavel Zacha is $4.75 million. His contract is up at the end of next season. Okay, so he's a UFA in 2027. So the Boston Bruins, as of next year, can start extension. As of July 1, I believe they can start talking extension with him. That's why he said no one's talked to me. He can't say anything. After July 1, they can start talking extension. If you're Pavel Zacha, you are going to ask. You are 30 years old. You're going to ask for Charlie Coyle money, like not even a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm interested in what you think about this core because I keep going back and forth on Zacha because as a player, he's a solid 55 to 60 point guy in your middle six, top six. He can play wing, he can play center. He's in his prime. I think that with the cap going up, to your point, he can get his raise while still being a relatively team-friendly deal with the cap continuing to rise. My confliction here is I could also see a world where he can bring you back a lot in a trade. And if you don't think that he is a part of your long-term future for one reason or the other, I think the Bruins have to explore potentially trading him if there's a deal out there to be had that can make sense for the Bruins. And like one that comes to my mind, it's just an example. I look at the Anaheim Ducks, right? And they have so much youth and speed and skill in Cutter Gauthier, Leo Carlson, Troy Terry, Beckett Seneca, just to name a few, Roger McQueen, who they drafted. They have that a really good young core of forwards that they have to pay. And you have Mason McTavish, who's 23 years old and is kind of a bit of a miscast right now with them. But with another team in a good situation, he could be what everybody hopes he could be. Could he, like, if there was a trade with Zacha involved where Anaheim gets in their prime, versatile top six, middle six forward to go along with their current youth core, like, I could see the Ducks wanting a player like Zacha, who has a year left at $4.5 million, and then the Bruins get back. I'm not saying it's 1-for-1, but like the Bruins get back a young McTavish for their future. Like in that situation, like, yeah, I think the Bruins would have to move on from Zacha. But if those situations aren't out there to be had, then yes, like re-sign Zacha, whatever. I just don't know what's out there. But I do think the Bruins owe it to themselves to see. And if that means being bold and upsetting the apple cart and upsetting David Pastrnak, like, I just think you have to like bite the bullet and say, hey, you know what, David, sorry. Like, if Pavel can get us a 23-year-old kid who can be a long-term player for us and can still help us kind of now. But I don't know what's out there. But I think they have to think of all options, though.
I do. agree that they've got to think of all options. I know Mason McTavish. I talked about him in my video. He's the sexy pick right now. Um, eh, Man, he didn't even play in the playoffs. Really, like I have a tough time thinking that he can be an answer, and he barely played in the playoffs on a very young team. That's a
Fit.
tough one for me for what everybody's saying, but like that guy didn't play.
I
Like
know.
both guys, they didn't play. Both these guys, the defenseman everybody's talking about. So like if they want to give us both the defenseman and McTavish for Zacha, sure. But right now, Zacha got me, 30 goals, 35 assists, 65 points. If Zacha says to me, "Hey, I'll come back for 5.5," I'm signing him.
Yeah, I think he'd want more than that, but
I agree. I agree. Some people would say he could probably get 8, but even if he said, "Hey, I'll take the same as Charlie Coyle based on the cap," I'm going to bring him back. But if he wants this 8, okay, then yeah,
Mhm,
I would explore trading him. I'd explore it. You're not doing your job if you're not. But
yeah.
for me, I have a tough time with both McTavish. Like everybody, just because everybody will say, well, he's not doing well there. Let's see what he can do here. Maybe, but maybe not. Like I don't know, man. It's tough for me. That's all. With
Yeah.
Mason McTavish, it's a tough one for me because he didn't play in the playoffs. And if he's not good enough to play in the playoffs, why is he good enough to be on my team? And
Yeah.
it's going to be different in Boston. Why is it different?
Because the Bruins don't have Leo Carlson and Cutter Gauthier and Beckett Seneca that are blocking him towards like they don't have those. I'm not saying that the Bruins don't have guys that could block him. I'm just saying
Beckett
I think
Seneca is on the wing.
no, fair. I'm just saying generally speaking, like
So you're telling me a 19-year-old is the reason the guy can't get in the lineup?
I'm telling you that the Ducks have an embarrassment of riches. No, not specifically. Not specifically. I just think that
Not
the
trying to be a
Ducks
dick. I'm just saying
no,
I'm having a hard time with Mason McTavish. Really am.
I don't I'm not listen, I've seen too many stories over the years of players that just aren't fits where they are and they go somewhere else and they succeed. So
100%. I
I
agree with you.
he's talented, I think in an accelerated in a accelerated role. And he's also only 23. Like Brad Marchand, his rookie year, he was 23 years old. McTavish
Mhm.
already has how many years to his name with 35 to 50 points.
Yeah.
And he's 6 years younger than Zaka, right? I just think if you think Zaka is going to be a part of your long term future and he's going to be a decent contract, fine. But I also could make the argument you're seeing the best of Zaka, which I'm not saying 60 points is bad,
I'm
but
agreeing with you.
no, I know, but it's. I just think that the Bruins they have to be careful to not get stuck in neutral, and I fear that Zacha is the safe bet. And can this team afford a lot of safe bets? I don't know. Like I think they have to start taking some risks. Like good hockey trades always involve risk, where the trade happens and you're kind of like, oh, I don't know if that's gonna work out.
Agree, but one again, Zacha has to agree to this trade. You can't just move him to Anaheim unless they're not on his list. He's got lists.
Yeah.
Um, it's a little different. Like it's easy just to trade a guy away, but what are they asking for Mason McTavish? Is Mason McTavish? So what are you replacing here? So you're replacing those 35. Like, are you replacing all those points with Mason McTavish? Because I don't think so. Mason
No.
McTavish to me doesn't seem like he can be a top 6 player. As of right now, he looks more like a bottom 6 forward. So now I am trading a top 6 forward for a bottom 6 forward. I have a ton of bottom 6 forwards.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think his ceiling's a little bit higher than bottom six. I think he could be a second line player.
I'm just talking about what he is right now.
Right now, he's not. Right now, he's not an upgrade over Pavel Zacha
No,
at all. But that's kind of I
making
know that.
$7 million a year.
Who is?
Mason McTavish until 2030, 31.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, listen, it's unfiltered thoughts. I'm not saying it would be a win right now for the Bruins. I'm trying to think long term, like
I'm
how
agreeing
do you
with you. I'm
optimize?
just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
my job here is to just throw a little bit like, sure? Just that's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. I know. I know. Listen, I that's why I'm saying I'm torn on it, right? Like I'm torn on it because I see a world where you do extend Zaka, and over the next 15 months, now you have Zaka, Pasternak, Geeky, you have Hagens, Minton, Husadinov, maybe Laterno, maybe Zellers. Like that's a good melting pot of youth and prime players. So I see it all. It just depends on if the Bruins think they're going to sign him to an extension and what that dollar is.
Agreed.
If you don't think he's going to be around beyond this extension, possibly, then I think you have to try to get something for him. That's all. And
100%.
yeah. So
And if it could be a 1-for-1, sure, maybe. Like
yeah.
I get it. I have apprehension. There has to be more to it. Why isn't this guy playing? Like, he got you 17 goals, 24 assists, 41 points. He wears an A on his shoulder, and you decided he doesn't play in the playoffs. So if he's already having issues,
He's wearing an A?
yeah. Third, he's the assistant captain, and he is third on their depth chart at center.
Well, okay, so that he must be at least a decent guy in the room then if he's that.
I would hope to heck so.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, what is the reason they're not playing him? Because if it's not two-way play, buddy, do we really want that guy in Boston for the fan base to lose their freaking minds? They would just lose their minds on this guy. But I'm agreeing with you on, I would rather bring in a guy younger. He's 23. He's still younger than Pavel Zacha. I just don't know if Anaheim's doing that trade if it's a 1-for-1. Maybe they do. But then Anaheim's then got to re-sign Zacha. Like, if it's the same dollar amount, if Zacha says, I'm willing to sign for $7 million, okay, that works out for Anaheim. They're just trading a cap hit for a cap hit. But they've got other guys they need to sign down the road. And I think maybe they want to trade him to get out from under some of their cap hits. But they do have some vets in Killorn, Chris Kreider, Frank Vetrano, who's a vet now, which is hilarious. Jacob Trouba. So do they need another vet in Pavel Zacha?
Another player who
and Mikael Granlund.
Frank Vetrano, another player who thrived under Bruce Cassidy.
100%. But then again, he didn't thrive under Bruce in the NHL, but that's another story.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But I don't know. Is Mason? I would like to see more options.
Oh yeah,
if I'm
that was just an example.
Zacha, no, I know.
Yeah.
But I think maybe it's more me personally with Mason McTavish. Everybody keeps saying Mason McTavish. I just think it's the, hey, that's that thing that's not working out well over there. Maybe he can work out well here. He's 6'1". He's a big boy. He's a left shot. He can play the wing. He can play center. I have zero issues with it. I like him over Mason Marchment. That's another name for when I do my free agent video. Everybody keeps talking about him. I like McTavish over that because I agree there is an upside. Maybe he is the next Pavel Zacha. We brought in Zacha because he wasn't doing well in New Jersey, and he did well in Boston. So maybe he does fit our style. I don't know. I'm just talking out my butt. But you know what? We'll find out another time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian, for joining me. I truly appreciate it.
As always,
we keep going. We can do another one when we talk about.
It'd be a 5-hour episode if we wanted
100%. If you're not here, where can people find you?
If I'm not on Bruins Diehards, you can find me on YouTube at the Puck Ups, which is where I have my show, and then on Twitter at the Puck Ups at Brian Defelice _. Those are the main ways you can find me. I'm on TikTok, Instagram too, but it's all the same handle.
Ooh, the TikTok. I'm not even there.
Yeah, TikTok.
I don't even have the app on my phone. I think I'm, as the kids would say, you're a boomer, but I definitely am. I joke. I like some days I'm like complaining about my back. I'm like, yeah, I'm officially just an old man. But thank you everybody for listening, watching, coming on the show. Brian coming on the show. And please leave me a like, please leave me a subscribe. And as always, I'll see you next time.